In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this beautifully shaped Kaftan Bubu with a Aso collar running down to the front part, and there is also an outer front pocket attached to this dress, and the Aso part is all embellished with rhinestones. If you like to see how I made this dress, please keep watching. And I also want to welcome back all my returning subscribers. I appreciate you all, and if this is your first time checking out my video, you're welcome. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please click on the subscribe button to subscribe now, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So let's get right into this tutorial. So here I have my Kampala fabric. You would need about 4 yards of that, and I have my Aso and my rhinestones. So I'm going to fold my fabric. I folded the front into 2 and the back into 2. I folded the front and the back separately because I'll be taking a shoulder slope. I'll be taking the shoulder slope. So how I folded my fabric, I measured the length along the yard. So you measure the length you need. I measured about 63 inches and I folded for the back. I measured another 63 inches and folded for the front. So if you don't want to cut the shoulder part open, just like I did here, all you do will be to take your measurement. You take the length you need, the required length you want for your dress along the yard. When you measure, then you're going to fold it to have double of that length, and then you fold into 4 like I'm demonstrating, so that the shoulder part will be closed. So that's how you fold your fabric. So from the line I ruled up there, it acts as my shoulder line. I have a length of 60 inches for the length of the dress and extra 2 inches hemming allowance. Then from the folded edge of my fabric on the shoulder line, I'm going to measure out 4 inches, which is my neck width for this dress. Then I'm also going to impute the measurement from the center back of the neck, at the center back of the neck, to the sleeve length, what I want as my sleeve length. And the measurement I want is 20 inches. If I measure from the center back of the neck to where I want the sleeve to stop, is 20 inches. So this measurement is half of the shoulder measurement, which is 8.5 inches plus extra 11.5 inches for the length of the sleeve. But then I'm going to add extra ½ inch joining allowance because I'm going to be attaching a Aso at the edge of the sleeve after sewing. So I have 20.5 inches. Then at this 20.5 inches measurement I have on the shoulder, from there I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches. I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect this measurement to the 4 inches for the neck width, as you can see what I did. Then from the shoulder slope line where I came down, the shoulder slope line, I'm going to measure what I want as my sleeve opening. So I want the sleeve circumference opening to be 18 inches, and half of that is 9 inches. So I would be adding extra 1 inch because I want to use a seam allowance of 1 inch to sew. So I would be measuring from the shoulder slope, I would measure 10 inches for my sleeve opening. 9 inches is what I need, and then 1 inch seam allowance. So I've measured, you can see what I have there. So on this line now, I'm going to repeat this 20.5 inches I have on the shoulder line. I've measured it again on the sleeve opening line, and I'm connecting the 2 points as you can see. I've connected them together. Now on this sleeve opening line that I came down by, I'm going to impute quarter of the bust measurement I'm working with here. So the quarter of the bust measurement I'm working with in this video is 9.5, and to that I'm going to add extra 3 inches, 2 inches for ease and 1 inch sewing allowance. So at this point I'm using it is acting as a reference for my bust line. So I'm just going to impute quarter of the bust measurement plus 3 inches, 2 inches for ease and 1 inch seam allowance. Then from the shoulder line, I'm going to measure 17 inches, which is my waistline, the waistline I'm working with in this video. So you measure yours, it's not a constant number. Then there I'm going to impute quarter of the waist measurement, which is 8.5 plus extra 3 inches like I did for the bust. Then from the shoulder line again, I'm going to measure to 25 inches, which is the hip line for this dress I'm making. Then I'm going to impute 11 inches, which is quarter of the hip measurement plus extra 3 inches. Now I'm going to connect all these measurements together. So if you don't want yours to be shaping, because I want to shape this, that's why I'm using the bust and the waist measurements. If you don't want yours to be shaping, from this place I imputed the bust measurements, you would impute quarter of the hip measurement plus the extra 3 inches, and that's the measurement you would take all down to the hem of the dress. But here I want to shape in mine. So now I'm taking the measurement of on the hip line, which is 14 inches, and I'm going to impute down that all down to the end of the dress, to the hem part of the dress. So I'm going to keep on measuring 14 inches down, and then I'll connect everything together. You can see how I'm connecting. So from the hip line, the measurement is the same to the end of the dress, and I've connected everything together. I'm going to make some adjustments for the sleeve to relax properly. So at this sleeve opening, that 10 inches I came down by, at that edge I'm going to come in by 1 inch. Then I'm going to reconnect back to the shoulder slope, as you can see, as you see what I'm doing. Then at this right angle, this 90 degrees angle form here, I'm going to come out by 1 inch, and then I'm going to make a curve from the sleeve part running towards the body of this dress, so that it becomes curved and not square, so that the sleeve can relax properly. Then for the neck width of this dress, I've already taken that, it's 4 inches. So for the back neck depth, I'm going to take 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to join this with my free hand. Then for the front neck depth, I'm going to take 8 inches for the front neck depth. And I'm going to connect this in form of V. It's going to be in form of a V neckline. After that, I'm going to take my shoulder joining allowance. If you watch my videos, you know I always take my shoulder joining allowance. So I'm going to take ½ inch for that and connect them as shown. So I've joined everything. I'm going to go ahead and cut out everything, including the back neckline, but I will not be cutting the front neckline until I remove the back part for this dress. I have cut out everything and I've removed the back part. Now before I cut out the front neckline, I'm going to pick my ashoke and check the width of my ashoke. So what I have here is 6.5 inches. I'm going to fold that into 2, and dividing into 2 will give me 3.25 inches. That's 3¼ So what I'm going to do now is, from the neck depth, this front neck depth, the 8 inches neck depth, I'm going to measure 2.25 inches all down. I'm going to measure from the folded edge. I'm going to measure 2.25 inches because that will be cut off. Some parts need to be cut off of this front part. The reason I'm measuring this 2.25 inches is because when I folded my ashoke, I had 3.25. So I need to remove the 2.25 and use the extra 1 inch as seam allowance for joining the ashoke to the main fabric, to this dress. Okay, so when you measure your ashoke and you have 6 inches, that means you're going to remove 2 inches from the front part, from the center front. So I'm measuring that 2.25 all down to the hem of this dress, and I've measured that, so I'm connecting it down to the neckline. So when I got to the neck depth where I had the 8 inches, I'm going to reconnect from there to my neck width. You can see what I have. I've connected the 2 inches back to the neck width. Okay, so I'll be cutting this off. I measured out 2.25 because my ashoke, when I folded, I had 3.25. Next thing will be to cut out my pockets. So I have my pocket piece, 2 of them together. The length is 10 inches and the width is 8 inches, and this includes the seam allowance, the ½ inch seam allowance all round. So what I will do now will be to cut out the ashoke I want to attach to the open end of this pocket. So I'll cut out the length. it will be a little bit more than the 8 inches, so it will be on fold. So there are two ways you can join this. You can either decide to fold in half inch on the both ends of your ashoke and then sandwich the fabric, use it to sandwich the fabric and sew, or you can decide to sew the way I'm doing this. I'm going to sew from the wrong side of the pocket piece. I would place the ashoke on the wrong side of the pocket piece and sew with half inch, and then I'm going to flip it to the right side and then top stitch the ashoke on this end and also on the end I've sewn before, and then I'm going to iron in half inch on the 3 open sides on these other sides of the pocket. I'll do that and show you what I have. So I've done that for the 2 pockets. You can see I've finished up. I've attached the ashoke. So next thing now will be where to place the ashoke on the front part. This is an outer pocket. So from the shoulder line, not at the edge, from the shoulder line, you see the shoulder line, I'm going to measure 18 inches, which is 1 inch below the waistline, and that's where I'm going to place my pocket. And from the open end of the dress, I'm going to measure inward by 1 inch. That's where I'll place the ashoke and then sew on the 3 sides. So this will not be sewn on the back part. I just demonstrated there. So I'll place it on the front side at the measurement I've taken and then sew it round. I'll attach the 2 pockets and show you what I have. So after attaching the pockets, the next thing I will do will be to join the front and the back by the shoulder. I left half inch joining allowance for that, so I'm going to place them right sides facing each other and then sew on the shoulder by half inch. So I'll do all that and tell you the next step. I've attached the pockets, I've closed the shoulder joining. You can see what I have at this point. So next thing now will be to attach the ashoke to the sleeve opening. So I'll measure what I have at the sleeve opening, and that gave me 20 inches. So I've cut about 22 inches on my ashoke, and I'll iron gum stay to that. It's on fold. I would join it the same way I joined the ashoke on the pocket piece. So I will sew from the back part, flip to the right part, and then top stitch for both sleeves. Then to know what I'll be cutting out for the collar for the front piece, I folded the back on top of the back and the front on top of the front, so that I'll just measure for one side. So whatever I get, I'm going to multiply into 2. So from the center back, I'm going to measure what I have down to the front side and down to the hem of the dress. So when I measured, I had about 69 inches, which I approximated to 70 inches, and if I multiply that by 2, I have 140 inches, and I still added extra 2 inches just in case I cut more than I needed. So I would cut that and iron gum stay to my ashoke, and I also folded it and ironed it so that I have a crease at the center, so that my ashoke is into 2 equal parts. So if your ashoke, you can't cut this whole length at once, you can join 2 pieces together to get the length you need. So the next thing I'm going to do now will be to measure from the shoulder joint. I'm going to measure out that my neckline of 8 inches. So I'm going to note that with a chalk, 8 inches. Now I'm going to start measuring again from the center back to this 8 inches. I'm going to measure to see the total of what I would have. And when I measured, I had 13.5 inches. Now from the my ashoke is folded, so the folded part is assumed to be the center back. I'm going to measure the 13 inches I had when I measured from the center back of the dress to my 8 inches neck depth in front. I'm going to rule a line across that. So I'm ruling a line across this measurement. So there's still another measurement to note, that is the slit on the dress. So I'm going to measure where I want the slits to stop on the front part. So what I will do now will be to measure. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm either going to start measuring from the shoulder joining. I would measure to where I want the slits to stop, or I'm going to place this 8 inches I've measured. I'm going to place the 8 inches on my tape on these 8 inches. So it's the same thing as measuring from the shoulder. So I'm going to measure to 45 inches, which is where I want the slit to stop. So I have 45 inches. So I'll still go back to the ashoke. I'm going to measure, place my tape, this line here acts as 8 inches for the front depth. So I'm going to place 8 inches there and measure to 45 inches. So you see what I have. I'm going to rule a line across this measurement as well. So I placed my tape, the 8 inches on my tape on the line, the first line, and measured out 45 inches. So from that line down, I'm going to have my slit is about 16 inches or thereabout. So the remaining part, the part in between the two lines I've made, I'm going to divide it into two equal parts, which is 3.25 inches, and I've ruled a line dividing that into two, and I've used pins to hold them together. So what I'm going to do now will be to go to the sewing machine and run a stitch from one end of this straight line to the end of it. So I've sewn together. So what I'm doing now, I'm flipping it to the right side. So I've folded this other end into two to flip to the right side. So I'm turning the ashoke to face the right side, and I'm just picking two sides of this. I sewed at the center, so I'm picking two sides on each side and turning it to two parts on each side to turn it to the right side. So after turning it, I'm going to give it a good press, and then we'll get into the next stage. So you can see the slit parts, you can see what I have, and I've also attached the ashoke to the sleeve opening. Now the next thing now will be to attach this collar part, this ashoke long piece that we've sewn together. So we are going to attach it to the neck part. So it's going to serve as a collar and then run down to the front part. So what I'm going to do now is to pin, at the center back, I can see it because of the crease line. So I made a crease there. It's very visible, though you can't see it. So you can as well mark yours or notch it. So I'm going to start sewing. My ashoke also has a crease at the center part, where I divided it into two equal parts, but I'm using a chalk to make that more visible. So I'm going to start sewing. Before I sew, I'm going to use a pin to hold them all together. So I'll pin this part I've marked with the chalk at the crease line on the center back. I'm pinning on the right side of the main on the dress. So I'm sewing from the right side. So I'm going to pin one end of the ashoke. You see how I'm holding it? I'm going to pin to one end of the down to the one end, and then I'm going to pin to the under end, to the hem of the dress. You see how I've pinned everything together. So that's how I will go and sew from one end, from the center back to one end of the dress, and then from the center back again to the other end of the dress. I'll do all that and show you. So I've attached it together, so you can see what I have at this stage. Everything is coming together, so you can see what I have. You can see the slit part. So the next thing will be to close up the sides. I've not closed the side at this point, and remember I said I left 1 inch seam allowance. That's what I added. So I would turn to the right side and sew from the sleeve part down to the hem. After sewing, I'm going to hem the lower part and trim off the excesses I have. Then I'm going to embellish with the rhinestones. So after sewing everything, I would go ahead and overlock the inside parts of this dress. So this is it, guys. This is what the dress looks like after doing everything and embellishing it with the rhinestones. It's looking so beautiful. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it, and also subscribe to this channel, and you can try this out and let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.